I'm Kim Guthrie, welcoming you to the healthcare series, Are You Prepared? Presented by the Bethel Park Chamber of Commerce, Freedom Home Care, and Betty Karleski Consulting. The purpose of this series is to educate the community on the various aspects of healthcare and the options that exist. Today's segment is segment 5, Paying for Everything, and we'll explore 3 separate ways of paying for your healthcare needs. Our first guest today is Ed Banasak, who has been in the insurance and benefit industry for well over 30 years, working with both the corporate and individual sectors. While continuing some corporate consulting activities, Ed's primary focus as an independent agent is in the senior market, helping seniors navigate the often confusing and muddy waters of Medicare plan options. Now that we know a little bit more about Ed, let's take a look at the services that he could provide where Medicare is concerned. Since we're in the midst of the Medicare annual enrollment period, which runs from October 15th to December 7th, can you please provide us with a quick overview of Medicare components A through D?
Well, first of all, Kim, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to be here. Yes, it's that time of year, like it or not, for those respective seniors who are already Medicare eligible, or for those who may be what they call aging in, turning 65. So the basic components of Medicare, they're Part A, which is automatically, everybody's entitled to that if they have a working history. Part A covers basically hospitals and certain in-hospital procedures. Part B covers the medical component. Doctors, and again, certain procedures and certain prescription drugs may fall under Part B of Medicare. Part D, very important, because that's prescription drugs. All right, so that's the Part D. And then Part C is what they call Medicare Advantage, which some people consider a supplement type plan, but Part C includes Parts A, B, and D. So it's a comprehensive health plan separate and apart from Medicare.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that quick little overview, Ed. We appreciate it. Can we now take a look and compare Medicare supplements versus Medicare Advantage plans?
Yes, it's one of those areas, Kim, that the terminology is used in conversation quite liberally. The terms are interchangeable from a conversation standpoint, but from a practical sense, there are some distinct differences. Okay, the pure Medicare supplement plans, they do not include certain features that the Advantage plans would have. For instance, a Medicare supplement plan covers what they say on TV, certain things that Medicare doesn't. And some of those things that Medicare in general does not cover is number 1, Part D prescription drugs. Also, services relative to dental, hearing, and vision are not part of Medicare supplement plans. On the other hand, Medicare Advantage plans, that Part C that we talked about earlier, those plans would provide Part D, and then most of them include services for dental, hearing, and vision. Okay. In general, what's the best plan? There is no one best plan. Okay. If there was, it would be easy.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you'll have, as a general guideline, let's say someone is what they call a snowbird. They're 6 months here, 6 months in Florida. They probably should look at a supplement plan because those are national. It doesn't matter. You can go any provider, anywhere, anybody medical who accepts Medicare. All right. Now, you would have to fill some of those holes for your prescription drugs, your dental or hearing, but that's all doable. Okay. And then the Advantage plans, you could have both HMOs and PPOs. The PPO plans are a broader network of coverage from a provider standpoint. So for instance, if you were in a PPO plan here and wanted to go to Cleveland Clinic, you could do that under most PPO plans. Can't do that in an HMO, you would be, quote, out of network. Costs in general, if you add up the total components to do a Medicare supplement plan, probably going to be a little higher than the Advantage plan that has those components built in. Flip side is, the Advantage plans may have more out-of-pocket expense should you incur those. So if you're healthy, it's one issue. If you're not so healthy, you're a frequent user of services, those are some of the things you need to look at when you're selecting plan options.
You've given us a lot to think about for sure. And some questions that I think people might want to ask themselves could include the following. Am I happy with my current plan? What's the cost of the plans, the benefits, out-of-pocket expenses you referenced earlier, and what's my medical provider network? So what plan options are available out there?
There's a wide variety. So again, particularly this time of year where the senior market will be inundated with advertisements, kits in the mail, and there'll be an opportunity to take a look at those. What's the best? There is no, as I said, there is no one best. Even within a family of plans, from one insurance company to another, they may have multiple options. High premium, better benefits. You could have a zero premium plan, the details of which you would have to fill in for out-of-pocket expense. It's all what's your medical history. Some people are on medications a mile long, some people take an aspirin. That's your Part D expense. Okay, so when you're trying to measure out-of-pocket expense, you have to take a look, number one, what am I paying for the premium? What are my potential out-of-pocket expenses to see my primary care physician, my specialist, and then inpatient hospital stay? All right, so those are things that everybody's going to have a different history.
Absolutely.
So they have to take a look at that. And then when we're talking about the medical network, you must make sure that your hospitals and specifically your doctors, your PCP and specialists, if you use them, are in network.
Wow.
Okay.
It's a lot to keep track of, Ed.
Indeed.
Well, you've talked a lot about things you should consider. What are other options or things to consider when comparing these plans?
Well, one thing might be if you have certain medical conditions, and you say, Ed, what do you mean by that? Well, there are certain plans out there that are geared to what they call chronic illness, of which there are two. One being diabetic and one cardiac related. So if a person is Medicare eligible and has one of those two conditions, there are plans out there that are geared toward taking a very aggressive approach to the benefits, and most specifically, Kim, they take the biggest bite out of the medications associated with those two illnesses. All right. Secondly, there are plans that are geared toward income, someone who's income challenged, and certainly anyone who qualifies for some degree of Medicaid, not to be confused with Medicare, but that's an income issue. There are plans out there that are geared towards those folks who fit that, that definition in that category. So again, we talked about the snowbirds. Do you travel? Okay, how frequent? Those are all things that one should be considering when they're saying, hey, does my plan really cover that? Is there another plan out there? And oh, by the way, what's the premium? Am I a frequent medical user of services? Or, I've been healthy. Now, again, no one has a crystal ball, but things to consider.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for teaching us about the ins and outs of navigating the Medicare plan options. I've certainly learned a lot. If you'd like to make an appointment with Ed to discuss your personal options, you can call him at 412-654-8710 or send him an email at edward_banasak@yahoo.com. Thank you, Ed, for being here again, and we'll be right back after this commercial message.
Is it the insightful strategies and analytical capabilities that make Edward Jones one of the biggest financial services firms in the country? Or is it 13,000 financial advisors who take the time to say thank you?
Night, Jim. Gonna be a while?
I am, Liz. Got a little writing to do.
It's why Edward Jones is the big company that doesn't act that way.
Our second presenters today are from Western and Southern Life. Mark Waitman was an incredibly successful businessman working downtown. He stepped away from his comfort zone and is now in pursuit of his passion, which is helping people make informed decisions and aligning people's actions with their goals. Mark's talent was highly sought after by the Western and Southern Life Organization, and Mark is now excited to serve the Southwestern Pennsylvania region. David Traficant has been practicing in the financial services industry for 6 years. David is passionate about making people's financial lives more simple while having the support of a financial group behind him like Western and Southern. David presently handles the growth and evolution of Bethel Park's Western and Southern office, directly supervising 9 financial representatives. David, what is the difference between critical illness and long-term care insurance?
Well, critical illness is more focused on a diagnosis of a medical disease. Actually, in the medicine field, there are 37 different critical illnesses that one can experience. Some of the ones that our company focuses on is the heart attack, stroke, cancer, end-stage renal failure, and major organ transplant. There's a couple other ones in which we also provide a benefit for, but those are your major critical illnesses. Now, long-term care coverage is more about preserving your lifestyle and getting you back to functioning the way that you used to be. Sometimes that's not always possible, and you need a little bit of help for assisted living or 24-hour care. But that's the main distinction. One's a diagnosis, and the other one is trying to get you back to the lifestyle you used to have.
Thank you for clarifying. Mark, can you provide for us the effects of experiencing a critical illness?
Sure. With a critical illness, most cases, the critical illness can be taken care of at home. Unfortunately, with that disrupts the whole family. That involves just about everybody in the care itself, the medical bills that's involved. Some instances, they have to bring in home care help, which is a major cost in affecting the family that way. And sometimes people have to, burn down their retirement funds and so on and so forth to carry through with the medical costs involved that. And as far as medical long-term care, it's very expensive to be in a nursing home. And once again, your assets are burned down until some other form of income can be gathered.
You've given us some food for thought. David, in what circumstances would someone considering purchasing either the critical illness or the long-term care insurance?
The main concepts that people are interested in, one of them is understanding that your best and your biggest asset is yourself. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, insure their house, insure their car, but they fail to insure themselves and their ability to work. And so understanding that if you're not able to work, that you're not able to provide for yourself or your family, that's a concept that people are interested in. Also with understanding if you're diagnosed with some sort of critical illness and you're in retirement, depending on what type of supplement you have, this type of program can be used to help cover some of the out-of-pocket expenses associated with a diagnosis of one of the critical illnesses. Another group of individuals that are really interested in the critical illness type coverage are folks that actually have their commercial driver's license. A lot of people don't know, but if you have a diagnosis of a heart attack, you're not able to go back to work with your CDL. So you essentially have to replace 6 to 12 months worth of income until you get your wheels back underneath you. No puns intended.
Those are certainly some things that we would like to consider. Mark, what could occur if people do not take action to secure either of these insurances?
Well, if they take no action at all, they have to have the assets to be able to be there for them when the time's needed. That, as David said, you lose your income, not able to go out and secure an income, and you start to have to use your IRA, you have to use your retirement or pension, and then it gets to a point where you may have to turn to a government program to help you be able to fund that illness moving forward. And that is what I think non-action is where everybody will end up, is depending on the local government, or not the local, but the state and federal government, to be able to secure funds to pay for the coverage.
Thanks for the information. You've both been incredibly helpful with providing us with some clear ideas as to how insurances can cover the cost of a crisis. So thank you for being here today. You've been very helpful providing us with a clear idea as to how insurance can be used to cover the cost of a crisis, specifically that of a critical illness. Many thanks to Mark and David for being here today. We'll be right back after this sponsored commercial break. Welcome back to our healthcare series, Are You Prepared? If you're just tuning into our show, we are exploring paying for everything following a crisis. It's understandable that not everyone has long-term or critical care insurance, or for someone who does have it, depending upon the options that were chosen, that the payment from their policy will not cover 100% of their expenses. Therefore, some may need to use their investments, whether those be individual or retirement, to offset the shortfall. To address this topic, we'd like to welcome Lance Burgert, financial advisor for Edward Jones, who will discuss how to use your investments to offset any other healthcare costs. Lance, it's well known that healthcare costs have significantly increased over time, even greater than general inflation. How do you recommend that someone sort of offset these cost increases?
That's a great question, Kim. I understand okay.
No problem. We start over.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah. Think about how you're going to address it, how you're going to answer that.
Oh, I know. I've been practicing. Like I said,
the nerves get you.
I have the answers all been practicing. And
Okay.
they just,
It's tough. It definitely is.
yeah.
All right, whenever you're ready. I'll ask the question again.
Okay.
Okay? So it gives you a chance to think. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lance, it's well known that the healthcare costs, I'm going to start that over. Lance, it is well known that healthcare costs have significantly increased over time, even greater than general inflation. How do you recommend that someone offset these cost increases?
That's a great question, Kim. I understand how healthcare can put a big strain on one's financial situation. Just from the fact that you said that healthcare costs are going up even more than inflation every year. Also, people are living longer. And with that means people will have to tap into possibly their investments for a longer period of time. The best way to offset these healthcare costs that are ever increasing is to have a well-balanced, diversified portfolio that would be made up of cash, CDs, bonds, be it government, municipal, or corporate, and domestic or international equities. But the one thing you want to make sure is that your portfolio is designed to your specific risk tolerance, goals, and time frame.
Okay, thank you. Well, you made mention of CDs and bonds. With interest rates being close to historical lows at this point, it seems like a lot of people are reaching for investments with higher yields. What are your thoughts on this philosophy?
You know, I'm having that conversation on a weekly basis. And if someone is talking about putting a big chunk of their money or a large portion of their money into investments that have a high yield, I really am against that philosophy. And the reason for that is, it's that old adage, if something seems too good to be true, then it typically is. And even though they're offering a high yield, and that's what people are concentrating on, they're not understanding that the risk that they're taking with the principal that is associated with it.
Okay, thank you. What should someone do when they have a CD mature and they are using the interest for income?
That's a great question. What I like my clients to do, or anybody I recommend to do, is take it when a CD or a bond matures, take a step back, take a look at your portfolio, take a look about your finances at the current time, and also take a look at your finances in the short-term future. You may need this money for that. Just because a bond or a CD matures doesn't mean that you should automatically reinvest it back into another bond or a CD. There are a lot of investments out there that are very conservative and very safe that could potentially give you a little bit better interest rate or income stream, however you want to look at it, than the CD or bond. But the one thing you want to make sure is that the investment fits in with your risk tolerance, your time frame, and your goal. With people who are getting close to retirement or are retired, there are three types of income that I like to say that they should have. One is predictable, two is an increasing, and three is guaranteed. A predictable income is something like that you know that you're going to get that income stream for a certain time frame. A CD offering a fixed interest rate, a fixed annuity, a bond, okay, that's a predictable income that you know is going to be coming in. The increasing income is an investment that can provide you an increasing income on a yearly basis. So you're almost giving yourself a pay raise. This one really offsets, inflation and healthcare costs increasing. And the last one is guaranteed. And that's typically income would be your Social Security, would be your pension if you have one, and or an annuity. Okay, you're guaranteed that. Now, if you look at the three words in the first letter, predictable, increasing, and guaranteed, they spell pig. And that's what you want to do when you're in retirement, is you want to be a pig of your income stream.
People will definitely remember that, Lance. Thank you. Is there a way to know if someone's money will last until they pass, or if they're using too much from their investment portfolio and putting themselves at risk?
As I tell everybody who asks me a question similar to that, my crystal ball is broken. And I don't know of anybody else's crystal ball that is working. You can't predict the future. The only thing that you can really do is prepare for it. What we have at Edward Jones and what I do with my clients is we have tools for people who are preparing for retirement or people who are in retirement. And what these tools do is give them an idea as if the way they're living or the way they want to live in retirement, is there a chance of them running out of their money? About 90% of my clients, this is the foundation of our relationship, is this using this software, and we go over it once a year and talking about that, and they seem to love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, you've been instrumental in helping us to learn more about financing beyond insurance, and that includes protecting your assets and structuring your investments. Thank you, Lance, of course, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And sharing your knowledge with our audience. That's instrumental. Our next segment is number 6, how to maximize Social Security. Be sure to tune in to learn more about Social Security benefits from Lisa Austin with Prudential. As always, we hope that you find that this healthcare series, Are You Prepared?, provides you with valuable information concerning your current or future healthcare needs. Now to our health tip of the day. According to the Medical Billing Advocates of America, about 80% of medical bills contain errors, and doctors' offices and labs are not exempt from making mistakes. It's in your best interest to eyeball your paperwork before writing that check. Don't be afraid to call your doctor or the hospital billing department to clarify a charge, and make sure you're persistent, because after all, it's your money and you need it to last. See you next time for our healthcare series, Are You Prepared segment.
Is it the insightful strategies and analytical capabilities that make Edward Jones one of the biggest financial services firms in the country? Or is it 13,000 financial advisors who take the time to say thank you?
Night, Jim. Gonna be a while?
I am, Liz. Got a little writing to do.
It's why Edward Jones is the big company that doesn't act that way.